Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to talk a little bit about my time working for Blockbuster Video, an amazing rental chain of which was in its heyday one of the big the big daddies of video and DVD rentals. When I was working there, things were starting to sort of turn a corner. Streaming was starting to become a thing. Netflix was increasing its popularity and its market share, and Blockbuster came under increasing pressure. But I think I worked there at a really nice little time, just at the end of high school for me, so sort of in the sixth form through a gap year, and then just before I went off to uni, that's when I stopped working at Blockbuster, and it just filled with so many fond memories for me. My memory of Blockbuster obviously is defined by the store in Prestatyn, which I think is still not, it hasn't been repurposed, certainly not according to Google Maps. And it's defined also obviously by having worked there. So it's not, I used to be a customer. I remember being a customer. I remember looking at, for example, Terminator 2 and showing it to my mum, and she'd go no. But I remember now, obviously, those memories are mingled in with having worked there. So for me, it's this complicated sort of mosaic of sensations, really. So this old computer system, sort of like Tron, this blinking square on the screen for entering people's memberships with this really clunky keyboard. The old, when I first started working there, the credit card system, they hadn't updated to chip and pin, so they had this the clunk clunk machine thing with the paper that you'd have to do when people wanted to pay with credit cards. The feel of the carpet underfoot, the noise of the popcorn bags being sort of dug through, people trying to find their favourite flavour in the bin that was sort of just in front of the counters, the noise of the fridge being open and closed all the time constantly and then being allowed just to bang shut, people retrieving their Haagen-Dazs ice cream or their Pepsi or whatever. The sound of the DVD cases being clattering together as people picked them up or dropped them and maybe behind the counter, and also actually the sound, very particular noise of a drop box with the metallic shutter, sort of letterbox basically, and then the cases gathering up and piling up in the box, because people used to be able to drop their rentals off outside of hours or even during hours if they didn't want to come to the counter through a little letterbox into a drop box. Those sensations are really what sort of encompass Blockbuster for me, and it was just a very special time for me, and I love it. I feel so grateful for having worked there when I did. There was an interesting character who was the manager of the shop. She would wind people up quite often the wrong way, I have to say. She was a very forceful character. She was obsessed with Stargate SG-1. And she'd always use the phrase, "It's one of those days, one of those days." And I think it's because she wasn't actually the best at talking to people. I don't think that's too unfair a criticism. She wasn't the best at empathizing with people, So she would just come up with this phrase constantly, consistently. "Oh, it's one of those days," kind of thing. And it just drove me nuts. Over the course of 3 years or something when I was working there, I eventually had to be like, "Stop it! You have had one of those days every day I've known you." And maybe that's it. Maybe I was the common factor. Maybe I was the person who was making it one of those days. I hope not. But she was an interesting person anyway, like very intense as well when it came to things like shop security and this kind of thing, which is understandable. She was the manager, it was her neck if anything went wrong. The deputy manager and, for example, her daughter, who was a bit older than me, were lovely people, got on with them very well. I remember lots of really good conversations with her daughter about SFX magazine, for example, and Buffy. That was kind of cool. But also she, actually, the deputy manager, just a lovely lady, really, really nice, pleasant person to work with. And then there were other people. There was one member of staff who was really into their Xbox. The Xbox at the time was relatively new, so they were sort of evangelistic about their Xbox, trying to get me to come to the Xbox. At the time I had a GameCube, and so I'd hear all this stuff about Halo, and so the people were lovely. And one of the interesting things actually was the fact that when you worked there, you got obviously a staff discount, a certain percentage on purchases of ex-rental stuff and also of sweets, for example. But also you got 7 free rentals per week, which is technically 1 per day if you really want to do that. Usually you'd sort of bundle them, so maybe get 3 in one day and go off and do something and then come back, a couple of days later. But the point is, you were encouraged to learn the store, learn the stock, so that you could actually be the best possible customer service rep, as it were, that you could be. So actually that was one of those pleasurable things about working at Blockbuster, was that you were encouraged. Passively, I don't think anyone ever actually told me, be good for your customers. But the reason for getting those rentals was so that you were familiar with everything in the shop, or at least a big chunk of it, and therefore you could learn what people liked and didn't like, and you could sort of guide them through their rental process. So, for example, if someone came to the counter today and said, "I really like Dog Soldiers, what can you recommend?" I would probably recommend either American Werewolf in Paris, or actually Centurion, a film which maybe they weren't expecting me to recommend, but one which actually is by the same director, has similar levels of gore, and has a similar sort of squaddy soldiers surviving together kind of mentality. So that's the reason why you got these free rentals. And yeah, I guess some people just loved having them because they could, like when we had time off. Goodness me, it was wonderful just to be able to go, I think I'll just watch that, I'll get that. Just go in every day getting another film. But also, actually, speaking of which, it was a great time for movies, actually, for rental movies. It was a wonderful time to be working there. I made actually a little list here. Spider-Man came out, Catch Me If You Can, Gangs of New York, an interesting but nonetheless a big movie event film, as it were, despite Leonardo DiCaprio's Irish accent. The Lord of the Rings trilogy was occurring. Red Dragon came out. 28 Days Later, I remember that. I remember specifically that coming out on DVD and renting it. Well, renting it, as it were, with my staff discount. Star Wars Episode 2 came out while I was working there, so in the midst of the Star Wars prequels. 8 Mile, Blade 2, probably the best of the Blade trilogy, Minority Report, the Matrix trilogy was getting going, so Matrix Reloaded and eventually Matrix Revolutions, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Finding Nemo, Kill Bill came out, Underworld, X2, X-Men motherfucking 2 came out, School of Rock, SWAT, a bit of a guilty secret for me, a bit of a guilty pleasure, but nonetheless a cool movie, and I was able to watch it without any risk really because I had this staff discount. Last Samurai, Too Fast, Too Furious, Bad Boys 2, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, I think it was called, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Sean Connery's last sort of live action appearance in a movie, I do believe, Death Watch, a First World War horror movie, which again I actually own a copy now. Actually, that might be the copy from Blockbuster that I own. It's kind of cool. But the point is that I wouldn't have necessarily risked, as it were, renting it had I not been able just to watch it without that risk, and therefore recommend it to other people. So Death Watch, fantastic. But also a discovery which really sort of stuck with me actually was Identity, a film starring, is it John Cusack? It's about a whole bunch of people in a motel during a storm being killed one by one, and I'll leave it there. I won't spoil it, but it's quite a good film. It's not the best example of its genre, but it was a good discovery. And I remember it came in a red box with a red disc. It was one of the first ones from a certain studio, I forgot which studio it was now, to start putting their rental DVDs on a red disc for piracy reasons. So actually that's why that stuck with me. There's also as well, one of the great things as well was people coming into the store sort of in their raincoats, even when it was a hot day, wanting to rent some soft porn, and 2 titles which I will remember till the day I die. One of them is Lord of the G-Strings, and what was the other one? The Erotic Witch Project. So these films were sort of, they were down, I believe, for a long time. They were sort of just in front of the counter, down to the right, really down in the far corner, down, So people had a little bit of privacy when they were browsing them, but also if you saw someone just disappear from your view to the right, you knew what they were looking at. You knew what they were after. Some game highlights which came out while I was working there. The Resident Evil remake on GameCube. I actually got to play that a little bit early because we got the copies just before they were on sale, which was cool. And the same actually goes for Wind Waker, the Zelda Classic on GameCube. Again, it's the authorized rental copy, which I own in my collection. I got to play that a bit early, and as a Zelda fan, that meant so much. I remember actually being in the shift all evening, just looking at that, sort of. I put it off to one side. There was like a sort of a off stage, as it were, behind the counter wall, where you could see you could put things like a drink or something, and I put Zelda Wind Waker just there, just sort of. I was at the counter, sort of. all day, all evening, maybe typing in a membership form for someone and looking at that box, just going, oh, I want to play that now. And obviously I got to play it, and it was amazing, and it couldn't have been better. As I say, that the computer system there was so antiquated, but it's just filled with fond memories, and ultimately. That was actually one of the great things actually about that, was also the opportunity to learn from other people and their loves and passions. So people would talk to me about Kingdom Hearts, for example, on the PlayStation, this kind of thing, and they'd come in and they'd ask if there's something which maybe they could experience in the GameCube. I was able to offer my opinions on this stuff. A downside though in terms of games while I was working there was Tomb Raider: Angel of Darkness. That was. I believe it was the first big PS2 Tomb Raider game, and it was a huge letdown. The deputy manager's daughter, one of the people I worked with, she was is, I presume still, a huge Lara Croft fan, and was so let down when that game came out. A controversial game which came out while I was working there was Manhunt. Yeah, you might remember Manhunt. We had this huge kind of memo back and forth for a long time, sort of internal company memo to the shop, talking about what to do with Manhunt, where to put it, how to handle it, how to deal if people ask questions about this game, how to spot who's going to rent it when they shouldn't, this kind of thing. That was an interesting scenario, and actually this is one of the reasons why I actually feel very strongly about people renting the right games for their age brackets. Now I'll probably talk about it in another video at another point, but the staff can get in real trouble. Or I could get in real trouble if I was to give something out to someone who shouldn't have it. So that was an interesting sort of, I suppose, responsibility element to working at Blockbuster. When I left the place, actually, they just about started having brand new membership cards, where basically they were printing directly onto like a piece of plastic. But what they used to do is they used to put cards into laminated pouches like this, and basically it'd have like a hard back and like a soft front, which you'd take off the sort of the sticky back plastic off the soft front, and then slowly sort of flatten it out over this printed off bit of paper for someone's membership card. I've already talked about this in my Resident Evil video, that I made myself a Resident Evil membership. Apparently I'm a part of Alpha Team, using these pouches. So when the day I left, actually I was bequeathed a packet of these now redundant membership card pouch sticky back plastic things, and I love them. I still use them to this day to make membership cards for all sorts of jokey things for my friends. Some of my favourite. I mean, I know I sort of said that I liked meeting the public and getting to know their likes and dislikes, but sometimes you get really strange or daft questions, and one that really sticks out is one where I didn't mean to sound sarcastic, but the Tomb Raider Creative Life had just been released on DVD. Creative Life was okay, but wasn't the best Tomb Raider film in the world, wasn't the best film in the world, but at the time people were excited about it. So this guy came in and was going, where's the new Tomb Raider film? Can I I'd like to rent it. And there couldn't have been a bigger display off to the side of the store. There's this huge, great big cardboard display. Angelina Jolie was literally lying across the top of the shelves, with a gun or something. And I just sort of went, it's just there. Where Lara is. So it's amazing actually how people, stupid question is the wrong way of putting it, but it's amazing how people would really lean on and require your guidance. They wouldn't necessarily fully engage their brains when they came in, which was interesting. But then actually one time, because Prestatyn is on the North Wales coast, we get lots of tourists in, so lots of people come in the summer. And I remember someone was being extremely rude to one of my colleagues, extremely rude, borderline sort of aggressive, sexist, as it were. And I was a bit sarcastic to them. I just went, yeah, here's your rental. Sorry if we've caused you any inconvenience, sir. And the guy just goes, what? And he starts threatening me, and he's saying he's going to be there to beat me up outside the shop at the end of my shift. And that was a bit nerve-wracking, but you see, you sometimes get arseholes coming in, and but for the most part, it was a lovely place to work. And I remember actually being able to also instigate little changes. So, for example, I actually instigated apparently a region-wide change in so much as putting leaflets on the windowsills of the shops, stop people from sitting in the windowsills and making the shop look sort of mucky from the outside, but also actually meant that as people walked past, they could see the latest popcorn rental deals in the window. Yeah, that was me. That was me. Who knows? Maybe it made it to the US. Wouldn't that be amazing? But I suppose one of my most favourite and abiding memories of working at Blockbuster was being there one morning for an early start. I was there for the morning shift. I said early start, 10 o'clock in the morning. I've had jobs which start at 5 a.m. So 10 o'clock in the morning, but it was the first shift of the day. And so I was there at 9:30, waiting, and it was Valentine's Day, and I'd bought some flowers for my then girlfriend, and I had them on the floor next to me, sort of, propped up against the door, just sort of reading a book or something. And these two little old ladies walk past, and they look at me, and then look at the floor, look at the shop, and then keep on going. And I'm thinking, oh, are they, looking for the opening times? They're waiting to come in. And then about 5 minutes later, they come back, and they've got flowers with them, and they put them down next to my girlfriend's flowers. And they say, "Oh, it's such a tragedy when a young life is lost, isn't it?" And I didn't have the heart to sort of tell them, no, this is a Valentine's Day thing. So the flowers actually ended up being part of, for about 40 minutes, part of a memorial display just outside Blockbuster, where these two lovely little old ladies had assumed that like someone had been hit by a car or something, and so I didn't give the extra flowers to my girlfriend. I'm not that much of a scumbag, but we put the flowers on display in the shop, and if I don't think they did actually come in, but if they had come in, we would have said, we would have explained what was going on then. But at that time in the morning, and being, sort of 19, 20s, 18, 19, I think I'd been a bit too nervous just to put them right. It was just so sweet, but also kind of surreal, actually. But that was Blockbuster. Blockbuster was a wonderful time for me, and it was great preparation for meeting people, and for going into the wider world, for going off to uni and interacting with people who I'd never known, who I'd never met before, and also actually developing my knowledge and my hobby when it came to films and computer games and being critical of these things. Blockbuster was crucial, and I don't know, I would highly recommend it as a job to anyone, but unfortunately there aren't any really left, so such a shame. But I just figured I'd talk a little bit about what it was like to be a Blockbuster employee. At times it could be stressful, especially when there was these bundle deals. You're behind the counter and the regional managers over your shoulder watching to make sure that you're offering everyone who comes in, even if you know that they're diabetic, offering them sugary sweets and drinks with their film. Stupid. At times it could be annoying, but for the most part it was one of the most enjoyable work environments of my life. It was a fantastic opportunity to meet people and to learn what they liked, and also actually to be able to help them find something good to watch on a Saturday night, when they didn't want to waste their money on a bad film, so they relied on us, and that was a really nice feeling, actually. I don't want to overdo it. Obviously, we're just staff at Blockbuster, but it was nice that we were given the tools in terms of those rentals to actually help people make better choices and to see a film which they would enjoy. Anyway, guys, that's my Blockbuster memories. Hopefully, an interesting perspective having worked there. And if you have any thoughts or memories about Blockbuster or your own rental store experiences, please do share them below. What's your favourite rental store experience? Were you one of those kids who would come in and just take an empty box off the shelf because you thought it might have something in it? Were you one of those people who would stalk the guy in the raincoat as they went towards the soft porn? Just to watch them and just up their sweaty palms while they were trying to quietly reach for Lord of the G-strings. Let me know below, I really want to know. Anyway, I'm slightly losing my voice, so I shall sign off now. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.